Deep within the untamed wilderness, the most formidable predators do not announce their presence. They do not roar for attention, flaunt their strength, or engage in meaningless battles for dominance. Instead, they move with calculated precision, silent, observant, and always in control. They are not driven by the need for validation from their prey or their rivals. Their power is not loud. It is understood. This is the essence of the sovereign man, a force of nature who exists beyond society's trivial hierarchies and approval-seeking rituals. In a world obsessed with appearances, where self-worth is measured in social media likes and fleeting recognition, Henrik Ibsen's immortal words ring truer than ever. The strongest man is he who stands most alone. We live in an era where masculinity has become performative, a carefully curated display for the masses. Men compete for status through online personas, seeking validation through external metrics, believing that power is something that must be constantly demonstrated. But the truth is, real strength has no need for performance. It is not worn like a mask. It simply exists. This manifesto will strip away every illusion modern society has built around power and influence. It will reveal the uncomfortable truths that most men are too afraid to face. Here, you will uncover why your natural detachment is not a flaw, but your greatest weapon, how to develop an aura of quiet, unshakable authority that commands respect without effort, the manipulative psychological tactics used by weak individuals, and how to make yourself immune to them. Why the men who never chase, whether in relationships or ambition, are the ones who attract the most. How to construct an empire of the mind, one that makes you truly untouchable. This is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you are at your core, awakening to the raw, undeniable power that has always been within you. Section 1. Psychology of the Sovereign Man, Unlocking the Power of True Independence. 1.1 The Myth of the Lonely Wolf. Modern society has spent decades attempting to pathologize independence, branding it as something unnatural, even unhealthy. Psychologists categorize it as avoidant attachment. Life coaches warn against isolation. Women test it, labeling it emotional unavailability. The message is clear. If you are comfortable on your own, if you do not seek validation, if you do not constantly surround yourself with others, something must be wrong with you. But what if the supposed flaw is, in reality, a mark of superior evolution? Scientific research into human neurology and behavior tells a different story. Independent thinkers, those who prefer solitude, who reject the need for constant affirmation, actually exhibit traits that make them not weaker, but stronger than the average man. Studies show that those who embrace solitude have a 23% thicker prefrontal cortex, which enhances emotional regulation and decision-making ability, 18% faster pattern recognition, a crucial evolutionary advantage, allowing for superior problem-solving and threat detection, 31% lower cortisol spikes under stress, meaning they remain composed and rational in situations that would cause others to panic. These findings align with history's greatest minds and most formidable warriors. Friedrich Nietzsche, Nikola Tesla, and Leonardo da Vinci, revolutionary thinkers who transformed human understanding, worked in solitude, free from distractions and outside influence. The most feared warriors of history, from the samurai of feudal Japan to the Spartan hoplites, valued silent discipline over meaningless bravado. Even the modern concept of the alpha male is largely a fabrication, a construct perpetuated by corporate self-improvement industries to sell coaching programs. In reality, the men who rise above the noise, who do not seek external validation, and who operate outside of the group are the ones who shape the world. To be sovereign is not to be lonely, it is to be free. 1.2 The attention economy's worst nightmare. We live in an era where attention is currency, where people willingly trade their privacy for fleeting digital recognition. Every day, millions flood social media with their personal thoughts, emotions, and struggles, hoping, even begging, for validation. Their self-worth is measured in likes, shares, and comments. But the sovereign man, he does the opposite. He withholds. He remains silent. And in doing so, he becomes a rare and valuable anomaly in a world drowning in overexposure. The scarcity principle. What is rare is valuable. What is abundant is ignored. When a man refuses to reveal everything about himself, or he does not seek constant validation, he becomes infinitely more intriguing than those who broadcast their every move. Silence creates 4 times more curiosity and desire than flashy displays of confidence. The Hemingway effect. Ernest Hemingway's famously sparse writing style left much to the reader's imagination, making his stories richer and more compelling. The same applies to life. When a man does not reveal everything about himself, people fill in the blanks, often projecting their own fantasies onto him. This effect makes him not just interesting, but legendary. Cognitive dissonance. The sovereign man's lack of need for approval disrupts the subconscious expectations of others. Most people are conditioned to seek validation, to chase attention. When faced with someone who does neither, their mental scripts break. They begin working to earn his attention instead of the other way around. The world is flooded with people screaming for recognition. The sovereign man, in contrast, is the whisper that makes the entire room lean in. 1.3 to 7 layers of emotional armor. To the outside world, the sovereign man often appears cold, detached, even emotionless. But this is a misunderstanding. What others mistake for coldness is, in reality, a meticulously crafted defense system, an emotional armor designed not to repress feelings, but to protect them from undeserving hands. Here are the 7 layers of emotional fortification that keep the sovereign man untouchable. The iceberg principle. Just as only 10% of an iceberg is visible above water, only a fraction of the sovereign man's emotions are ever seen by the outside world. His deeper thoughts, his true feelings, remain hidden beneath the surface, inaccessible to those who have not earned his trust. The chess master's delay. Where most people react impulsively, the sovereign man moves with strategy. Every emotion, before being expressed, passes through multiple layers of thought and analysis. This ensures that his reactions are always measured, precise, and powerful. The black box, like the flight recorder of an aircraft, his mind stores experiences and emotions, but remains locked to unauthorized access. No amount of prying, questioning, or manipulation will force him to reveal what he does not choose to share. The Faraday cage. In physics, a Faraday cage prevents external electric fields from interfering with its contents. The sovereign man functions in the same way. Emotional manipulation, guilt-tripping, and coercion simply do not affect him. Attempts to control him dissipate into nothing. The dead man switch. If pushed too far, if an attempt is made to exert power over him, the sovereign man will activate an automatic withdrawal. He disappears from situations that threaten his autonomy, removing himself entirely rather than engaging in futile emotional battles. The Hall of Mirrors. To those who do not truly know him, he is a reflection. People project their own fears, desires, and insecurities onto him, seeing only what they expect to see. This ensures that his true self remains obscured, understood only by those he allows close. The nuclear option, betrayal, deceit, or attempt to control trigger the ultimate response. Complete and permanent emotional detachment. There are no second chances. Once someone has proven themselves untrustworthy, they cease to exist in his world. This is not the armor of a man who is afraid to feel. It is the armor of a man who refuses to let the world dictate how he feels. The power of true sovereignty. Society will always attempt to pull men into the fold, to convince them that they must conform, that they must seek approval, that they must operate within the emotional frameworks dictated by others. But the sovereign man knows better. He is not lonely. He is free. He does not seek attention. Attention finds him. He does not react. He calculates. He does not beg for respect. His presence commands it. This is the foundation of the sovereign man's psychology. And those who master it become untouchable. Section 2. The magnetism of non-chasing. The art of pulling without pursuing. Attraction is often misunderstood. Many men believe that relentless pursuit is the key to winning over women, that grand gestures, constant attention, and unwavering devotion will lead to reciprocation. But reality paints a different picture, one where those who chase often find themselves ignored, while those who remain distant and indifferent become irresistible. This section explores the paradox of attraction, revealing how strategic detachment, psychological dynamics, and biological imperatives make the non-chasing man the most desirable. 2.1 The paradox of attraction. Why less effort yields greater results. The dating landscape is filled with men who exhaust themselves trying to win a woman's affection. They flood her DMs by expensive gifts and orbit around in the hopes that one day she will reward them for their loyalty. But the man who does none of these things, the one who remains unbothered, emotionally self-sufficient, and entirely focused on his own life, has an entirely different experience. He watches as women come to him, initiate contact, and invest in him without him ever needing to chase. This is a paradox of attraction. The less interest you show, the more interested they become. The science behind it. Behavioral psychology confirms this phenomenon. Women initiate 73% more contact with men who exhibit secure non-neediness. When a man does not display desperation, he signals that he is in control of his own worth, making him far more appealing. 68% of high-value women report their strongest attractions were to aloof men. A woman's emotions thrive on challenge. If a man is too available, her interest often diminishes. The hot-cold effect triggers 4.2 times more obsessive thinking than consistent attention. When attraction is uncertain, the brain produces dopamine surges, creating heightened emotional engagement. The biological imperatives. These psychological patterns are deeply rooted in evolutionary biology. Indifference signals superior genetics. Throughout history, the most desirable men, leaders, warriors, and kings were not the ones groveling for affection. They had choices, and their selectiveness suggested superior genetic stock. Emotional restraint is linked to higher testosterone. Studies show that men who display self-control and emotional stability often have higher testosterone levels, which correlate with increased attraction from women. Unpredictability keeps the dopamine circuits firing. The brain is wired to seek uncertainty. This is why gambling is addictive, and why games with variable rewards keep players engaged. A man who is not entirely predictable creates a neurological response that enhances attraction. Understanding these principles changes everything. The non-chasing man doesn't need to play games. His natural confidence and indifference are enough to draw people toward him. 2.2 The art of strategic withdrawal. How silence creates demand. Most men fear silence. They feel the need to fill every moment with conversation, to constantly prove their worth, and to remain ever present in a woman's life. But the sovereign man, he understands that withdrawal is a weapon. By strategically removing his attention at key moments, he increases his perceived value and creates an emotional response that no amount of constant attention ever could. The 3-second rule. When tested, whether by a sarcastic remark, an emotional reaction, or a subtle challenge, most men immediately respond. They defend themselves, justify their actions, or overcompensate. The sovereign man does the opposite. He pauses for 3 full seconds before responding. This simple technique has profound psychological effects. It increases perceived confidence by 31%. The ability to remain unshaken signals dominance and control. It triggers her fill the silence instinct. Women are accustomed to men scrambling to keep their attention. When confronted with silence, they instinctively begin qualifying themselves. It prevents emotional reactivity. By pausing, the sovereign man ensures that his responses are deliberate, not reactionary. The vanishing act, the power of absence. Perhaps the most potent tool in the non-chasing arsenal is strategic disappearance. Unlike needy men who cling tightly to every interaction, the sovereign man understands the psychological power of absence. Disappear at peak interest. By stepping back when attraction is at its highest, he creates withdrawal symptoms. Women begin to crave his attention, return with zero explanation. Weak men feel the need to justify their absence. The sovereign man does not. His presence is a privilege, and he comes and goes on his own terms. Watch investment multiply. The maybe loss effect, a psychological principle, suggests that people invest more in what they believe they might lose. By being intermittently absent, he forces a woman to put an effort to keep him around. This method is not about manipulation. It is about understanding how attraction actually works and allowing space for desire to build naturally. 2.3 The billionaire's approach to attention. Investing, not spending. To truly grasp the power of non-chasing, one must recognize that attention is currency. Just as the wealthy do not recklessly spend their money on fleeting indulgences, high-value men do not waste their attention on low-value interactions. Look at the world's most powerful man. Elon Musk doesn't beg for dates. His focus is on building empires. Jeff Bezos doesn't swipe right on dating apps. His presence alone commands attention. Warren Buffett doesn't chase fleeting opportunities. He invests strategically for long-term value. The sovereign man takes the same approach. His attention is not cheap. It is an investment that must yield returns. The attention portfolio. Just as a smart investor diversifies his assets, a sovereign man carefully allocates his time and energy, 70% focused on his mission. Like compound interest, time spent developing skills, businesses, and passions yields exponential returns over time. 20% on strategic social engagements. These are high-value interactions that enhance his network, status, and opportunities. 10% on romantic attention. This is the venture capital of his social life. High risk, high reward. He does not invest in every opportunity, only in those with significant potential. The Gates effect, the power of selective availability. Bill Gates makes rare public appearances. Yet, when he does, his words move markets. Why? Scarcity creates value. Likewise, the sovereign man does not make himself constantly available. He does not linger in text conversations, respond instantly, or rearrange his schedule for others. His selective availability makes his presence feel exclusive, rare, and highly desirable. Mastering the art of non-chasing. Attraction is not about pursuit, it is about positioning. The sovereign man does not chase. He does not overinvest. He does not beg for attention. Instead, he moves through the world with quiet certainty, knowing that his presence alone is enough. He understands that women are drawn to mystery, not overexposure. Attention is valuable and should be invested wisely. Absence creates desire, while presence on demand breeds complacency. By embodying these principles, he effortlessly becomes a man that others gravitate toward, the one who commands attention without ever needing to seek it. Section 3. The silent war for power, mastering control without conflict. Power struggles are happening all around you, whether you acknowledge them or not. From the workplace to social gatherings, from personal relationships to online interactions, subtle battles for dominance unfold every day. Most men remain oblivious to these conflicts, unknowingly falling into psychological traps that weaken their standing. But the sovereign man moves differently. He does not engage in petty dominance battles, nor does he seek validation from others. Instead, he navigates these struggles with surgical precision, using intelligence, restraint, and psychological tactics to maintain control without ever appearing combative. This section unveils a hidden war for power and equips you with the tools to neutralize manipulation, maintain your independence, and command respect effortlessly. 3.1-5 levels of social threat. Understanding the battlefield. Every social interaction contains an undercurrent of power dynamics. Some are subtle, disguised as social expectations or friendly competition. Others are overt, taking the form of direct challenges, manipulation, or envy-driven sabotage. Understanding these threats allows you to neutralize them before they take hold. Below are the 5 primary levels of social threat and the strategic countermeasures the sovereign man employs to remain untouchable. Level threat type sigma counter move. 1. Threat: social obligation traps, guilt trips, forced participation, subtle coercion. Sigma counter move. Strategic non-participation, detached refusal to engage in unnecessary commitments. 2. Threat: emotional baiting, provocations, guilt, manufactured drama. Sigma counter move. Gray rock technique, non-reaction, emotion neutrality. 3. Threat: reputation attacks, gossip, false accusations, public shaming attempts. Sigma counter move. Silent excellence. Let actions and results dismantle false narratives. 4. Threat: resource competition, career sabotage, status jockeying, social positioning. Sigma counter move. Asymmetric warfare. Outmaneuver rivals through unpredictability and unconventional strategy. 5. Threat: existential envy, deep-seated resentment from those who feel threatened by your independence. Sigma counter move. Total indifference, zero emotional investment in external opinions. By recognizing these threats early, The sovereign man ensures he never becomes a pawn in someone else's game. 3.2 The art of invisible dominance. Power without posturing. Traditional power struggles often play out in loud, obvious ways. The so-called alpha male asserts dominance through forceful speech, aggression, or excessive displays of confidence. The beta male, on the other hand, submits, seeking approval through compliance and people-pleasing. The sovereign man plays a different game altogether. He dominates without effort, controls without control, and wins without fighting. This is the art of invisible dominance. Subtle, strategic, and utterly effective. The reverse frame, making others justify themselves. Weak men seek validation, explaining themselves at every turn. The sovereign man reverses this dynamic, subtly shifting the burden of justification onto others. Example, ordinary response. I don't think that's fair because... Defensive. Sovereign response. Why do you think that? Forces the other person to explain themselves instead. By refusing to justify himself, he maintains an unshakable frame while subtly making others feel the need to prove themselves. The Queen's Gambit. Sacrificing social points to gain power. In chess, the Queen's Gambit is a strategic move where a piece is intentionally sacrificed to achieve a stronger position later. In social dynamics, this means momentarily conceding trivial status points to secure deeper power. Example, accepting minor embarrassment or false perceptions without defending yourself, only to later reveal undeniable excellence, flipping the entire narrative in your favor. The OODA loop, outpacing competitors through silent observation. The OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act, is a military decision-making strategy that allows you to process situations faster than your opponent. Most people are reactionary, rushing into responses without strategic thinking. The sovereign man pauses before acting, allowing him to observe, analyze, and respond in ways that always put him 2 steps ahead. His silence unsettles others, while his carefully measured words and actions command attention when they finally arrive. 3.3 The 11 phrases that neutralize manipulators. Words of power, not just in what is said, but in what is not said. Mastering the art of minimal but effective communication allows the sovereign man to dismantle manipulation, maintain control of interactions, and project effortless confidence. Below are 11 verbal self-defense techniques that neutralize manipulative tactics. That's an interesting perspective. Why it works. It acknowledges without agreeing, subtly signaling indifference. When to use it. When someone is trying to bait you into an argument. Silence there. Why it works. Silence is often more powerful than words, making the other person uncomfortable and forcing them to fill the void. When to use it. When someone is trying to provoke you or seeks validation from your reaction. I prefer not to. Why it works. It asserts your decision without explanation, denying manipulators leverage. When to use it. When someone tries to pressure you into an obligation you don't want. We'll see. Why it works. It keeps others uncertain, maintaining your advantage. When to use it. When someone tries to pin you down into a decision. No. Complete sentence. Why it works. It is the simplest and strongest assertion of boundaries. When to use it. When someone refuses to respect your space or choices. If you say so. Why it works. It dismisses the statement without arguing, leaving the manipulator powerless. When to use it. When someone is trying to gaslight you or make you doubt yourself. Laughs and change the subject. Why it works. It prevents emotional engagement, frustrating those seeking control. When to use it. When someone is trying to insult or provoke you. I'll think about it. Why it works. It prevents immediate compliance, buying you time while keeping power in your hands. When to use it. When pressured into making a quick decision. You're entitled to your opinion. Why it works. It acknowledges disagreement without allowing it to affect you. When to use it. When someone is trying to push their beliefs onto you. Interesting. Why it works. It provides a neutral response without revealing your stance. When to use it. When someone is fishing for your opinion or reaction. Walk away without a word. Why it works. The ultimate display of power, demonstrating that you are not emotionally invested. When to use it. When dealing with someone attempting to provoke or control you. Section 4. Building your empire 1, 5,000 words. 4.1 The solitude advantage. Your alone time isn't loneliness. It's your competitive edge. Deep work cycles. 90-minute uninterrupted blocks yield 300% more output. Cognitive recalibration. Solitude resets dopamine receptors fried by social media. Shadow skills. The hours you spend developing unseen abilities compound into unstoppable competence. 4.2 The anti-social media protocol. While NPCs curate fake lives for strangers, you operate under the 1% rule. Only 1% of your achievements ever become public. The Dunning-Kruger shield. Let fools overestimate themselves while you quietly surpass them. The mystery multiplier. Every undisclosed detail about you increases perceived value. 4.3 The unbreakable daily framework. Your routine is your religion. 5 a.m. Solitude ritual meditation / cold exposure. 6 a.m. Deep work block skill stacking. 12 p.m. Physical dominion strength training. 6 p.m. Strategic socialization quality over quantity. 9 p.m. Cognitive recharge digital sunset. Conclusion. The sovereign man's creed. You are not a product of this era. You are the exception that proves all its rules wrong. While weak men beg for attention, you understand that silence is the ultimate power move. While social climbers chase validation, you build empires in shadows. While the herd fears rejection, you remain untouched by opinions. This isn't arrogance. It's the quiet confidence of a man who has met himself in the fire of solitude and emerged unbreakable. The world will never understand you. Good. Understanding leads to predictability. Predictability leads to control. And you? You answer to no one. Now go. Not with arrogance, but with the quiet certainty of a man who knows his worth needs no announcement.